Good morning, everyone. And today we are so excited to have Eleni from Wise Agent. Wise Agent has been a longtime friend of Roomvu. We are an integrated partner, and we're so excited to talk about leads, nurturing them, and everything in between today with Eleni. It's so exciting to have you, Eleni, and thanks for joining.
Thank you. Thanks for having me, Sam. Good to see you.
Thank you. And Eleni, tell us a little bit about yourself. Like, you've been in this industry for years, right? Like, how many years now?
Almost 15 years. Almost 15 years I've been in the real estate industry. I love it. I've always loved real estate. And I've never been a licensed realtor, but I've been an investor. My family's all been an investment. They're all investors still. So I love the industry that I serve. And I also love technology. So for me, it is just really, I don't feel like this is work, so this is it's just a big passion of mine. So I
That's
feel
awesome.
blessed.
And I think with the amount of travel you guys do, you're pretty much at every trade show. It's you're gonna love real estate to
Yeah.
dedicate your life this much to it.
Yeah.
So today, guys, we're going to talk about so many different things. Some of the topics we're going to discuss is what's happening to the leads. What are the differences between a lead that comes from social media versus a lead in a database? What is the difference between a lead pre closing or pre basically before they're warm, once they do a transaction, and what happens to it after the transaction? We're gonna obviously talk about AI because it's the buzzword of the decade. And we would basically talk about how to nurture your leads, how to have conversations. What is the minimum number of conversations you should have with your audience? That's a big one, right? And I think some takeaways from this conversation at the end. So it's going to be super exciting. Stay tuned. We're going to cover all of these. Please put in your questions in the chat. And in the chat below, you can also find links to set up your Wise Agent account. There is an active integration from Roomvu to Wise Agent. So the idea is that every time you get a lead that opts in your landing pages, in your ad campaigns, or everything else, that lead goes directly to your Wise Agent account, and you can nurture it in the long term. So let's get started. I think the first question that I have is why a CRM is important? Like, why? Like, I could just do this by myself, right? Technically.
Yeah. Well, I mean, theoretically, I guess possibly, but also depending on the volume. Anytime you want to scale something, you want to have a system behind that. The scalability, especially when you're talking about lead generation, and either lead generation from paid advertisements, or buying leads from different portals or whatever it is, or just organic leads coming to you through like an email. Maybe they saw you somewhere, they saw your business card, they picked up your business card, whatever it is, or they met you on social media and they're reaching out to you. No matter what it is, in order to scale that, you need some kind of system. You need some kind of thing to happen, right? So like back in the day, before technology, there was a Rolodex, and you had a Rolodex and you'd flip that thing around. I mean, I remember that. And I played with that when I was a kid. It was a fun little toy. But I mean, that was good, but it wasn't really scalable. Like, how do you keep track of notes? How do you keep all these details that need to be done? And those are like 1.5 inch by 1/2 inch, little card. Now relationships are, they've always been, it's very complex, and it's a very robust system that you need, like a CRM, in order to keep all of those notes, all of those details in one central location, so you can recall the conversations you've had in the past, enter in all of the necessary details of what comprises that person, what composes that person as a potential client for you in order to do business with them. So all of those things happen within your CRM. And then, of course, all the marketing tools that kind of are attached to that.
That makes sense. That makes sense. So what was your journey? Like, I know, Brandon created this amazing system, and then you guys have worked on this for so long. What is the number one need that you kind of saw and you continue to see when building a CRM and then serving agents for that community?
Yeah, we've been serving agents for 22 years here. So the number one thing is that in this, a CRM stands for contact relationship management. And listen, at the heart of everything is that relationship that connects to your client, to your contact that you hope to become a client. And so that relationship matters. And so at the heart of everything in our CRM, at the center of everything is the client. And then everything from there kind of goes off, kind of webs off from there. So at the heart of everything, it's the client. It's not the property. We're not property centric. We're client centric, right? So a client could have one property, multiple properties. They might not have even purchased any properties, but most likely they live somewhere. And so you have some kind of address for them and you're nurturing them for one reason or another. And perhaps they're renters that you soon hope to give them the necessary information and the knowledge into why owning a property would be ideal and what all the benefits of that. And it could be for any other reasons, right? So somebody that already owns a property, what would be the benefits of owning a second, third, investments, whatnot, or moving up from the current size home to a larger home, whatever fits their needs. But at the center of everything is that person. It's that person that's at the center.
How important is sending the right material, the right questions when you're initiating conversations on a CRM? I think that we could talk about that for days, but
yeah. I call that segmenting your audience. That is such a key thing. So once you have all of your data, all of your contacts, and that means every single person you have ever met that you have some kind of information on, and that could be you only have a first name or maybe a first name and a phone number or first name and an email. It doesn't matter. Put everybody in your database, put everyone in your CRM, and then from there, segment them, right? And for everyone, segmenting is going to look different, right? And that means that you're going to categorize them, group them, put them in buckets, however you want to call it, right? What you're doing is you're going to say all of these people have one thing in common. And then whatever that commonality is, maybe they're all currently renters. All of these people in this category are all maybe they're all veterans, and so you're assisting them in buying a home. So you group them in that way. So when I send out a message to somebody, right? So as an agent, when I'm sending out a message, maybe I have another group of people that have already own a property and, might be considering a second property. And so I've grouped those people. And so now I send a message saying, hey, are you interested in buying this home as a second home for yourself? It would be a great opportunity as an investment property. Well, it would be bizarre to send that to those people that are renters, to send them saying like, are you interested in an investment property? Well, they don't even have their own primary home as a purchased home. So that would be off. That would not resonate.
I think something that I always say is, so realtors come to us and they're like, I have 3,000 contacts. I'm like, you don't have 3,000 contacts. You probably have like 300 or 400 leads that if you've been in the business long enough, and you have granular data on them. So if you have granular data on these people, then you have a solid list. But if you've just bought basically a list of I don't know, someone for home buyers and sellers in your area, that list is dead. Like, it's not an actual list. It's more of a just a contact list, and that contact list is not really worth anything. You need to warm these people up. They need to know you. They need to expect to receive something from you. And even if they received something from you, that content has to be relevant to them. So you can't just send them, let's sell your home, if they don't have a home to sell with, begin with, or they're not even in that stage of their life. Like they just bought a home. Why would you send them, let's sell your home, right? So I think to that point, like having the list of warm audience first, and then also segmenting them, putting the time to actually segment them, knowing their details. I think you guys even hold birthdays, special dates, like closing date, anniversary of their first home. These things are like super special and super important to actually keep track of and really add value there, right?
Yeah. And I would say this, so if they went through farming or whatever it is, and they have a list of contacts and they don't know how to classify them, right? They don't know if they own, like maybe they went, they got a list of a neighborhood of people that reside in that neighborhood, right? Because you don't know if they're residents and they are, they're owner occupied, or if they're tenants, right? So you don't know that maybe. Of this list, perhaps. I would still say that there is value there. The value, though, is unknown. And so part of it is that there's a potential there where your job as the realtor is then to figure it out. Like, this is not an industry for or at least this portion of it is not for those that are shy, right? So you got to be comfortable being uncomfortable. You got to pick up the phone because the phone works, just like email works. But like a lot of other things that work, social media works very well as well. And so does texting and other mediums of communication. But you have to figure it out some way or another. And sending a postcard would be kind of weird. Like, hey, are you, like, how are you going to get that information back? So phone call is typically one of the better ways of just introducing yourself and just seeing like, hey, I'm going to put this feeler out there. But here's the problem that happens quite frequently in this industry is that, let's say, Sam, you're the realtor and I'm the resident of one of the lists that you have, one of the people on that list. And you call and maybe I answer, maybe I don't answer. But whatever the case, like that, maybe I don't answer. You never call me again. Like, nobody answered. I guess they're
it's
dead.
A dead
to me.
lead, yeah. You just call it a dead lead, and you. But yeah,
you can't do just one. It cannot be one and done. Just like the conversation, just like the transactions shouldn't be one and done, your conversation should not be one and done. There needs to be a whole entire nurturing. It's a different type of nurturing than once they've gone a little bit further down the pipeline. There's still some nurturing that needs to happen there. You call, you introduce yourself, you leave a voicemail, maybe you have a call to action, which would be, hey, give me a call back if you're wanting to know a little bit more about what my specialty is in your neighborhood, the value of your home, whatever it is. If you're looking to buy or sell or whatever, if you have any real estate needs, call me. You have to have some kind of call to action. And that's in everything.
Agreed. And I think here's the thing. Like last year, we had 500,000 leads generated. Out of the 500,000, guess what percentage of realtors actually followed up with their leads? We ran a survey. Guess the percentage.
It would be very low.
Okay, it was 3%. So 97% of the people that got a lead with us, they did absolutely nothing with those leads. And I think to your point, like they keep thinking that the lead is just ready to go. Like if I pay $20 for a lead, they should buy a home right away. But it's not like that. You have to put them through a funnel, right? It's a whole funnel. You just went through that first step of that funnel where you generated the lead. Now you have to put them in the long-term nurture. And I think that's what we're discussing next, like the long-term nurture. So what is the typical cycle for a lead to be nurtured? And once they're even warmed up, like how long does it take?
Yeah. So typically speaking, there needs to be 8 conversations, right? At minimum, is what they say. That's what statistics show, is that 8 conversations in order to start the conversion process. Okay.
So 8 conversations over what period of time? Do we know?
Over a span of there is a span of like 6 to 8 months. You
Wow.
don't,
Okay.
so it is a long span. I would say that it's heavier in the beginning, but here's the thing about real estate is that it's very fluid. It's very fluid. Today, I'm happy in my home and everything is great. Tomorrow, I get transferred and I have to move to California. Right. So some of those things are sometimes out of our control. Those things happen. We start having families, our families get older, our children get older, they move out, we need to downside. Our parents are getting older, they need to move in with us, we need to move in with them. Whatever the case may, we're moving across the country. So really it's very broad because real estate is very specific to individuals. So it has to be broad in that sense. But I would say this is that you cannot give up. Like minimum is 8. So like, I mean, if I tell you the minimum to pass your driver's test is 60%, are you going to be like, well, whatever, I'm going to risk it. Like, as long as I get 60, like I'm good. Like, do you want a driver next to you that only got a 60% in their driver's test? Like, you want your odds to increase, so you better increase your number of touches.
I love
You don't
that.
want to just do 8. Like 8 is bare minimum. That's a D, right?
Yeah.
And so you don't want a D. I don't know anybody that does. In my household, I don't even like C's, right? I tell my kids, you bring me a C and I'm gonna be really unhappy. You're gonna sleep outside. Uh, so you want to get, so you want to have more conversations. You need to
So
give.
what is a typical example of a nurture when I have met you? So let's pick a warm scenario. I've met you at an open house.
Mhm,
You asked for my email,
mhm.
contact details. What is a typical cycle of conversations or typical type of conversations that needs to happen to activate that client or that buyer to start looking and start? Now it's getting the harder part as well, like signing an agreement with you to
Yeah.
be represented, right? So let's talk about that because that's super important, I think.
Oh, most definitely. And the people that you meet at open houses, I mean, you need to classify them when you meet them. Right? You need to do your data gathering. So when you meet them and you're like, okay, you classify them, are they a looky-loo? Like, are they the next door neighbor that's just wanting to know, like, is this house better than my house? Like my house is better. This one's going for 500,000. Mine should be 800, whatever it is, right? So you got to classify, are they looky-loos? Are they actually legitimately looking for a home? You classify, that's like your first segment. And then, so you say, okay, they're legitimately looking for a home. They're actively looking. Okay, now you start your data gathering process. And so it's all about asking questions and then listening. Ask the questions, stop talking, and, and then capture that data and put it into your CRM. So then you can analyze it after the conversation is done, right? So you're just asking. And then as you're asking those questions, you're asking those qualifying questions. And this can be done through email. It could be done through text and having like conversation over text. It could be done over the phone. It could be done in person. But no matter what, you're asking questions to get to know this person so then you can continuously gather the data that's needed for you in order to assess where that relationship is going to go and how long it's going to take.
That makes sense. That makes sense. So now let's go one step after or a couple of steps after. And that will be you're already in a closed transaction. I think there was a stat out there that if you asked every buyer or seller right after the transaction, would you pick this realtor again? 90 something percent would say yes. So 9 out of 10 would say yes, we would work with this realtor again. But 5 years down the road, only like less than 10% have actually done so. So what is happening in this 5 years that's worth looking at? And what can I do as a realtor in that 5 years post transaction to stay on top of mind, to still be relevant to these guys and not be thought of as a buyer agent?
Right.
And
Well, I mean, it's continuing the relationship. You have to continue the relationship. And so one of the things that one of my favorite features in Wise Agent, even as a non-realtor, but as thinking about it from the realtor's perspective, is we have, when you go through a transaction, we have our checklists that you can utilize in order to keep yourself on task and on time so you can get to the closing table. Well, and within that, the functionality of there, we have checklist triggers. So if one of your checklist items is, deliver the keys, or, meet them at the closing office, or whatever is happening, right, that last step, whatever that last step is in your checklist, that it triggers a drip campaign automatically that you've already like pre-designed, saying, okay, so 7 days after the closing date, I want this email to go out saying, congratulations. And you have a nice little banner in there. Maybe you even have a video that you've created saying, congratulations, and, welcome to your new neighborhood, or whatever it is, whatever you want to say. You have this beautiful message in there, and then you have another message after that, and another message after that. And you have this whole series of messages where it takes you at least throughout the 12-month cycle of that, the first year.
Yeah, that
right?
first anniversary is so important, right? Like
Yeah.
it might not be important to the realtor, but it is important to
Oh,
that home basic, especially if they're buying it to live in it. Like
right.
if it's an investment property, they're like, oh yeah, well, whatever.
Well, but
But
even
if
as
they,
an investment property, I want to know, like, after my first year, like, okay, I still have another year in order to not pay the capital gains tax, but like, where are we at? Did I spend my money wisely a year ago? And do I have an increase in my
do you
value?
recommend triggers after that first year for
Triggers.
home value? Like,
Yeah.
ask me about what's your new home value.
And what I recommend is automation. Is that there's something out there that you've got the system in place that you're sending out emails, you're sending out text messages automatically. You don't have to think about it. You've already set it up where it's pre-designed, you have it pre-built out so that at every closed transaction, you have this drip campaign going out. The second thing would be, another automation would be, we have an integration with Cloud CMA. Cloud CMA sends out a market analysis of their property. So you can put in, for that one particular client, you can say every 6 months, whatever, you can choose your options, every 9 months, every year, I want a CMA going out to that client. Because now what's going to happen is you can make your subject lines, you can customize it to say your home valuation. Right? You can even put in the address, you put in their name, whatever it is. And I can guarantee you, because I've seen the statistics, that has such a high open rate. It's in like the 90%.
Yeah, everyone wants to know
what
their asset is worth, right?
Oh, yeah.
It's a no-brainer. And they're like, wow, Sam did so much work putting this report for me. And they're like, wow, he's really going above and beyond. I should work with him. And I think that's the biggest thing in there. That's really important. So my next question that kind of goes through this is this. So we've talked about initial follow-ups, initial conversations, long-term follow-ups. Where does AI come to play with this? Because it's the buzzword of the decade, as you mentioned earlier. And the whole point is, yes, AI, like, here's my thoughts on it. I think AI is a great conversation starter. It could ask the right questions, but it probably has it has probably another 10 years to feel like an agent, act like an agent, be empathic, and really take over. So I think AI will do the initial work, but it's still that phone call needs to happen by you. That follow-up, the personal follow-up, still needs to be done by you, because you're gonna have different objections, right? So you're gonna have different objections that you're gonna get, different things that they're gonna raise, and really having a conversation with them, I think is going to change that narrative. But what are your thoughts on that?
So I was recently in conversation at a mastermind with other technology outside of the real estate industry, through one of our technology partners, Amazon Web Services. And there's about 20 of us in there talking about AI. And one thing that all of us came to the table with the understanding of that AI is there to enhance an experience for us as humans, right? It's going to enhance an experience. It's not going to replace us as humans. The human still
Yeah,
needs
that's a
to
great point.
exist. The human element still needs to exist. And that was the consensus amongst all of us in technology. Uh, Even the technology leaders in their Amazon Web Services, right? And their essays and everybody, their solution architects that have built these AI tools for us in order, and these APIs in order for us to generate some of this technology. There's You need it as an enhancement, but it's not going to replace you. It's going to make you or it's going to allow you to have the ability to process data a lot more efficiently and effectively than a human can ever do, right? I love, and I don't know, Sam, you're a little bit younger than me, maybe a lot. You're young, many years younger than me, but the Jetsons, the TV show, and I know you're Canadian, so I don't know if they had the Jetsons in your
No,
day
yeah,
and
yeah, I've
age,
seen that. Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Rosie the robot, okay, because I'm kind of a OCD on cleanliness, right? Rosie the robot, man, she can clean that house in like no time, right? Because she didn't get tired, she didn't need a break, she didn't need to sit and have a coffee or water or go to the bathroom or any of that. She was just way more efficient as a robot. And so think about it like that: is that there's some mechanical thing happening on the back end behind your computer screen that's reading data at a rate that you can't even imagine. Human eyes can't do that. And then not just read it, but understand it, evaluate it, assess it, and then generate some kind of reporting and some kind of thing for you in order for you to make the right decisions for that particular space.
Interesting. Interesting. So I think you're absolutely right. Like it does a lot of mechanical things. It does a lot of the basic things that you don't have time to do on your own. And I think like if you actually went to the NAR show this year, every company just had an AI on top of it. And they had the old solutions, but AI empowered. And I think AI is a lot more than just plugging in a chat GPT, basically API to your product and calling it AI. It's a lot more than that. Like how do you actually see it? How do you use it to a bigger scale? And how do you use it to your advantage and win more business with it? I think the change is here and we need to embrace it. It's just we need to really use it in an effective way to help us grow our business.
Yeah. If it doesn't solve a problem, if it doesn't solve the problem, then it's just a buzzword and it's just this overhyped buzzword. Artificial intelligence has to, in order for it to be effective in our lives, has to solve a problem. If it is just there for the effect of like, ooh, she's in tech or he understands this or I mean, it's just a facade. It's a facade. So there needs to be some kind of element of really solving something. It has to solve something. If it does not solve a problem, it's just a buzzword and it's overhyped.
I love that. I love that. I think that's really important. And then um just to really wrap up our conversations, what is the difference between the lead that comes from social media
Mhm.
or a person that so let's put a scenario here. You meet me at a party and you add me to your Instagram or
Yeah.
Facebook or LinkedIn. How do you nurture me on social media versus how do you nurture me on a database? And what is the key difference between the two?
Well, I think that you have to do it from both. You need to nurture on both sides because people are on social media. And then they also like having conversations offline as well. You need to have the online and offline conversation. I don't think it's just one or the other. I think it has to be a combination of the two. But I
I love that.
think it's definitely important to have some social media presence and some internet presence um, to share your value proposition and your expertise. Why are they choosing you? I always tell agents, I see them at different, conferences and expos and CE classes and whatever they're doing and they're learning things. I'm like, are you like, you need to shout this from the rooftops, like, and that's what social media is basically. It's you standing on the rooftop telling everyone, but it's on a global reach. You need to let everyone know that you are mastering some skill set. You are sharpening your tools so you can better serve the people that you do serve. And that's what social media can do, is on a grand scale of things. But then you have to take it and you have to become a little personalized, because social media, you're just kind of talking out loud, and people are the ones that want to listen are going to listen. And so now the ones that are engaging with you and commenting back and DMing you and whatnot, well, then you take that offline, and now you start nurturing and building the relationship. And um, that's where then the conversations can lead to, hey, let's talk about an agreement, because they're private, and you can, you're a little bit more open to saying things than you would in open form.
That makes sense. So I think there's a whole difference here too. Uh, if I can just add to that, so social media is more top of funnel, just reminding people that you are in real estate, reminding people that you are the authority, that they should come to and ask questions. It's a conversation starter. Once they've started a conversation, then they're at a different stage. They're in a warm stage. On that conversation piece, now it's the time to actually update your CRM, get their info, send them, like if you can put them on a search from your MLS, just send them listings. I think that'll be the most important part, right? And then activate them. I think there's a ton of things that you can do at that stage, or even sending them home valuations and things like that. That's the key. And I think that's the most important thing that we keep missing. Like, the leads on social media will come in form of a call or a DM on your Instagram, but the leads that are warmed up, they will be in your database. There will be the people that you would constantly reach out to. You have to have those 8 conversations, possibly leading to a showing, possibly leading to a buyer's representation agreement within your system, and kind of going from there.
Yeah. And I would say, just like on social media, there needs to be a balance of, like, you don't want to just say like, hey, I've listed this house, and I helped my buyers buy this house, and then I did this with this house, and real estate, and look at me, look at me, look at me. There needs to be some personalized stuff in there, talk a little bit about yourself, not just what you do to earn an income, but it needs to be a little bit well-rounded. They need to like you. They need to trust you. They need to know you. So if you're just talking about your business, but you're not talking about yourself, that's going to be problematic for you. My thoughts have always been that in real estate, what the realtor is selling is not 123 Main Street. It is not the properties that they list. That is not that their product, realtors' products, is themselves.
That makes sense.
That your product is you. And so you're marketing you and your expertise and the knowledge that you have. And that's and your trustworthiness and your likability factor, all of those things. It's you that people are going to be buying into. Not necessarily the home.
That's a perfect ending for our conversation today, guys. There is an active integration between the two companies, because we really believe in the whole life cycle of relationships, like from that event, from that initial follow on social media, all the way to the transaction and post-transaction. And that's why this transaction is so dear to us. We've been working on something really cool that is passing our content into the your Wise Agent CRM as well, to really initiate conversations and start conversations with content, with what's happening in your area and neighborhood. And that's what we are really proud of to work with on the Wise Agent team. I would say, if you don't have a CRM, you don't have a system, and if you don't have a system, you are the system. So get in there, start nurturing, start creating, start treating your business as a business with the tools that you need to create content, to nurture leads, and then you would see a huge increase into your number of sales. I think generally we notice the more systems you have in place and the more you do things systematically, anyone, I would say anyone with minimal experience can actually sell at least 15 to 20 homes a year just with the right systems in place.
Yeah.
It's not rocket science. It's just that we tend to think of sales as this lucky thing that sits on your shoulder once and then you just get lucky and you made a sale. No, it's the system that should work for you, because the luck can bring you one deal a year, or you could just go to and buy your family a place or sell it and so on. But if you need to grow your business, you need to actually have a system in place to do these things for you, because time is not limited. The time is not unlimited. Time is very limited. So if you can have systems working for you, that's the ultimate goal of getting your time back, getting your freedom back, and basically doing more for your business.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'll just add, because I'm a numbers person, statistics show that companies and people that use a CRM are 73% more likely to be successful in their business and have a successful business than those that are not, because of the pure scalability of this system that you have behind you, than just having, pen and paper. So.
Exactly. So guys, don't forget to sign up using the link below. It takes you to Wise Agent page where the Roomvu partnership is integrated and showcased. And there is also a percentage off to get your Wise Agent account. So we'll share that in here, and get in there, start using the systems, start nurturing your leads, and we wish you a lot of luck in this changing environment for the rest of 2024.